Hello everybody, this is YaHUsHa, my production supply. YaHUaH's word in your life, deny yourself daily, pick up his take and follow you, music all day, every day. YaHUaH is YaHUsHa in the flesh. You already know. Yes, I'm gonna read for y'all one of the best books for the people who not understand the commandments, who not understand his laws, who not understand the Sabbats, who not understand his walk as he walked, is not understand YaHUsHa at all. That they think they know him, you know? So this is a lesson for those who want to be protected by this stuff when YaHUsHa will say, "Depart from me, I never knew you." We don't want to hear that stuff. I don't want to hear that stuff. You don't want to hear that stuff. So take this lesson from YaHUaH itself, YaHUsHa himself, from the scriptures. So read along with me. And it's all in the scripture like this. The shepherd of Hermas is talking about Ephesians, talk about commandments, and talk about similitudes. You see? So the Ephesians have 5 chapters, commandments have 12 chapters, and similitudes have 10 chapters. So as you can see, we begin at Ephesians, we begin with the commandments. So because it must be more accurate, you know. So we're gonna start with commandments, and then you understand it. So commandment 1. First of all, believe that there is one YaHUaH who created and finished all things and made all things out of nothing. He alone is able to contain the whole, but himself cannot be contained. Therefore have Amunah in him, and fear him, and fearing him exercise self-control. Keep these commandments, and you will cast away all the wickedness from yourself, and put on the strength of righteousness, and live to YaHUaH, if you keep this commandment. You see, this is the first commandment. The second commandment, he said to me, be simple and guileless, and you will be as the children of who do not know the wickedness that they ruins the life of man. First then speak evil of no one, nor listen with pleasure to anyone who speaks evil of another. But if you listen, you will partake of sin of him who speaks evil. If you believe the slander which you hear, for believing in it, you will also have something to say against your brother. You see? Thus then will you be guilty of the sin of him who slanders. For slander is evil and a steady demon. It never abides in peace, but always remains in discord. Keep yourself from it, and you will always be in peace with all. Put on the esteem of a Kodesh, in which there is no wicked cause of the offense, but all deeds that compose it and joyful. Practice goodness, and from the reward of your labors, which YaHUaH gives you, give to all needy in simplicity, not hesitating as its whom you are to give or not to give. Give to all, for YaHUaH wishes his gift to share it among all. They who receive it will render an account to YaHUaH why and for what they have received it. For the afflicted who receive it will not be condemned, but they who receive it of false pretenses will suffer punishment. He them who gives is guiltless, for it is received from the YaHUaH. So has he accomplished his service in simplicity, not hesitating as a whom he should give, and whom he should not give. The service then is accomplished in simplicity, is esteemed with YaHUaH. He therefore who thus ministers in simplicity will live to YaHUaH. Therefore keep these commandments as I have given them to you, that your conversation and conversation of your house may be found in simplicity, and your heart may be pure and stainless. You see? So there you have it, everybody. Commandment 3. And again he said to me, love the truth, and let nothing but the truth proceed from your mouth, that the YaHUaH which YaHUaH has placed in your flesh may be found truthful before all men, and YaHUaH who dwells in you will be esteemed, because YaHUaH is truthful in every word, and in him is no falsehood. Therefore they who will lie deny YaHUaH and rob him, not giving back to him the deposit which they have received. For they received from him the YaHUaH free from falsehood. If they give him back this YaHUaH untruthful, they polluted the commandment of YaHUaH and became robbers. So there you have it, everybody. Don't become robbers. Don't think the law is done in YaHUsHa only. We must do it also. You see? He's talking to us. Even when he knows that YaHUsHa did it all for us. So that we know how we must do as human form. Because yeah, he's the only one who can do that perfectly. So he was the example to walk as him perfectly. As an example, walk in his footsteps. Walk as he walked. Okay. On hearing these words, I have wept most violently. When he saw me weeping, he said to me, why do you weep? And I said, because YaHUaH, I do not know if I can be saved. Why? He said. And I said, because YaHUaH, I never spoke a true word of him in my life, but have ever spoken cunningly to all, and have affirmed a lie for the truth to all, and no one ever contradicted me, but credit was given to my word. How then can I live, since I have acted thus? And he said to me, your feelings are indeed right and sound, for you out of a servant of YaHUaH have walked in the truth, and not have joined it an evil conscience with the YaHUaH of truth, nor have caused sadness to the Kodesh and true YaHUaH. And I said to him, never, YaHUaH, did I listen to these words with so much attention. And he said to me, now you hear them, and keep them, that even the falsehood which you were formerly told in your transgressions may come to be believed through the truthfulness of your present statements, for even they can become worthy of credit. If you keep these perspectives, and from this time forward you will speak nothing but the truth, if it will be possible for you to obtain life, and whosoever will hear this commandment and depart from that great wickedness, falsehood, will live to YaHUaH. You see? Very clear again. It's just keeping on and on and on, that we must follow his footsteps, his commandments, all day, every day. Commandment 4. I charge you, he said, to guard your chastity, and let no thoughts enter your heart of another man's wife, or fornication, or similar iniquities. For by doing this, you committed a great sin. But if you always remember your own wife, you will never sin. For this thought enters your heart, then you will sin. And if in like manner you will think other wicked thoughts, you committed sin. For this thought it is great sin in the servant of YaHUaH. But if anyone committed this wicked deed, he works that for himself. Attend therefore and refrain from this thought, for where purified dwells there infinity all out, not to enter the heart of righteous man. I said to him, YaHUaH permitted me to ask you a few questions to ask on. He said, and I said to him, YaHUaH, is everyone have his wife who trusts in YaHUaH, and if he did detect her in adultery, does the man sin if he continues to live with her? And he said to me, as long as there remains ignorant of her sin, the husband commits no transgressions in living with her. But if the husband knows that his wife has gone astray, and if the woman does not convert, but persist in her fornication, and yet the husband continues to live with her, he is also guilty of her crime, and shared in her adultery. Oh, that is why. Oh, that's the part I didn't know. So that is why I don't have a wife anymore, because yeah, it was like this. He saved me from this stuff. Thank you, YaHUaH, YaHUsHa. Thank you that you revealed this stuff to me now, man. Wow, you see, we're all day, every day learning. Okay, go on. Verse 8. And I said to him, what then, YaHUaH, is the husband to do if his wife continues in her vicious practices? And he said, the husband should put her away and remain by himself. Yeah, I see, that is what happened to me, man. Wow, that's beautiful. But if he puts his wife away and marries another, he also commits adultery. I didn't marry, so I'm safe. And I said to him, what if a woman put away should convert and wish to return to her husband? Well, will she not be taken back by her husband? And he said to me, certainly, if the husband does not take her back, he sins and brings a great sin on himself. For he ought to take back the sinner who has converted, but not frequently, for there is but one conversion to the servant of YaHUaH. In case, therefore, that the divorced wife may convert to a husband ought to not marry another one, his wife has been put away. In this matter, man and woman are be treated exactly in the same way. Moreover, adultery is committed not only by those who are polluted their flesh, but by those who imitate the heathen in their actions. Therefore, if anyone persists in such deeds and does not convert, withdraw from him and ceases to live with him. Otherwise, you are sharer in his sins. Therefore, the injunction has been laid on you, that you should remain by yourself, both man and woman, for it is such person conversions can take place, but I do not. He said, give opportunity for the doing of these deeds, but that he who has sinned may sin no more, but with regret of regard to his previous transgressions. There is one who is unable to provide and cure, for it is he, indeed, who has power over all. I asked him again and said, since the YaHUaH has granted to always dwell with me, hear me while I utter a few words, for I understand nothing, and my heart has been hardened by my previous mode of life. Give me understanding, for I am exceedingly dull, and I understand absolutely nothing. And he answered and said to me, I am set over conversation, and I give understanding to all who convert. Do you not think? He said, this is great wisdom to convert, for conversion is great wisdom, for the who has sinned understands that he acted wickedly in the sight of YaHUaH, and remembered the actions he has done. And he converts and no longer acts wickedly, but does good liberally, and humbles and torments his soul because he has sinned. You see, therefore, that the conversion is great wisdom. And I said to him, it is for this reason, YaHUaH, that I inquire carefully into all things, especially because I am a sinner, that I may know what works I shall do, that I may live, for my sins are many and furious. And he said to me, you will live if you keep my commandments and walk in them, and whoever will hear and keep these commandments will live to YaHUaH. And I said to him, I sound like to continue to my question. Speak on, he said. And I said, I heard, YaHUaH, some teachers maintain that there is no other conversion than that which takes place when we are descended into the water and received remission of our former sins. He said to me, that was sound doctrine which you heard, for that is really the case. For he who has received a remission of his sins ought not to sin any more, but to live in purity. Since, however, you are inquiring dignity into all things, I will also point this out unto you, not as a given accusation for errors, or those who are to believe, or have lately believed in YaHUaH, for those who have now believed, and those who are to believe have no conversion for their sins, but they have a remission of their previous sins. For those who have been called before these days, YaHUaH things knew the wickedness of man, and the manifold wiles of the devil that towards them. The YaHUaH, therefore, being merciful, has had mercy on the work of his hand, and has set confession for them, and he has answered to power of this conversation. And therefore I say to you that if anyone is tempted by the devil and sins after that great and Kodesh calling in which YaHUaH had called his people to continuous life, he has opportunity to convert but once. But if he should sin frequently after this, and then convert to such a man, his conversion will be of no avail, for he will live with difficulty. And I said, YaHUaH, I feel that life has come back to me in listening actively to those commandments. For I know that I will be saved if in the future if I sin no more. And he said, you will be saved, you and all will keep these commandments. And I again asked him, saying, YaHUaH, since you have been patient in listening to me, will you show me this also? Speak, he said. And I said, if a wife or husband dies and the widower or widow marries, does he or she committed sin? There is no sin in marrying again, he said. But if they remain unmarried, they gain greater honor and esteem with YaHUaH. But if they marry, they do not sin. Therefore, guard your chastity and purity, and you will live to YaHUaH. What commandments I now give you, and what I am to keep from henceforth, ye, from the very day when you were entrusted to me. And I will dwell in your house, and your former sins will be forgiven, if you keep my commandments. And all will be forgiven who keeps these commandments of mine, and walk in this chastity. You see? And this is commandment 5. Be patient, he said, and of good understanding, and you will rule over every wicked work, and you will work all righteousness. For it, if you are patient, the Ruach HaKodesh that dwells in you will be pure. He will not darken it by the evil Ruach, but dwelling in broad region. He will rejoice and be glad, and with the vessel in which he dwells he will serve YaHUaH in gladness, having great peace within himself. But if any outburst of anger takes place, immediately the Ruach HaKodesh, who is tender, is troubled, not having a pure place, and he seeks to depart, for he is choked by the foul Ruach, and cannot attend to YaHUaH as he wishes, for anger pollutes him, for YaHUaH dwells in long suffering, but the devil in anger. The two Ruachots then, when dwelling in the same habitation, are at the discord with each other, and troublesome to that man in whom they dwell. For if any exceedingly small piece of wormwood is taken and put into a jar of honey, is the honey not entirely destroyed, and does the exceedingly small piece of the wormwood not entirely take away the sweetness of the honey? So that is no longer afford of any gratification to its owner, but has become bitter and lost in its use. But if the wormwood is not put into the honey, then the honey remains sweet and is of use to its owner. You see, then the patient is sweeter than honey and useful to YaHUaH, and YaHUaH dwells in it. But anger is bitter and useless. Now if anger is mingled with patience, and patience is polluted, and its palau is not then useful to YaHUaH. I should like YaHUaH, I said, to know the power of anger, and that I may guard myself against it. And he said, if you do not guard yourself against it, you and your house. And he said, if you do not guard yourself against it, you and your house lose all hope of deliverance. Guard yourself therefore against it, for I am with you, and all will depart from it, who convert with their whole heart. For I will be with them, and I will save them all. For all are justified by the most Ruach messengers, or the most Kodesh messengers. Hear now, he said, how wicked is the action of anger, and in what way it overthrows the servant of YaHUaH by its action, and turns them from righteousness. But it does not turn away those who are full of Amunah, nor does it act on them. For the power of the YaHUaH is with them. It is the touchless and doubting that it turns away. For as soon as it sees such men standing steadfast, it throws itself into their heart, and for nothing at all the man or woman becomes embittered on account of occurrences in their daily life, as for instance on account of their food, or some superfluous word that it has been uttered, or account of some friend, or some gift or debt, or some such senseless affair. For all these are foolish and empty and unprofitable. For all these things are foolish and empty and unprofitable to the servant of YaHUaH. But be patient is great and mighty and strong, and calm in its midst of great enlargement, joyful, rejoicing, free from care, esteeming YaHUaH at all times, having no bitterness in her, and abiding continually continually meek and quiet. Now this patient dwells with those who have complete amuna, but anger is foolish and fickle and senseless. Now of folly is begotten bitterness, and of bitterness anger, and of anger frenzy. This frenzy, the product of many evils, ends in this great and incurable sin. For when all these Ruach gods dwells in one vessel, in which the Ruach HaKodesh also dwells, the vessel cannot contain them, but overflows. The tender Ruach, then not being accustomed to dwell with the wicked Ruach, nor with the hardness, withdraws from such a man, and seeks to dwell with the weakness and peacefulness. Then when he withdraws from the man in whom he dwelt, the man is emptied of the righteous Ruach, and being handcuffed forward, filled with evil Ruach gods, he is in state of anarchy in every action being, dragged here and there by the evil Ruach gods, and there is complete darkness in his mind as to everything good. This then is what happens to all the angry. Therefore depart from that most wicked Ruach, anger, and put on the patience and resist anger and bitterness, and you will be found in company with the purity which is loved by YaHUaH. Take care then that you do not neglect by any chance this commandment, for if you obey this commandment, you will be able to keep all the other commandments which I am to give you. Be strong then in these commandments, and put on the power, and let all put on the power, as many as wish to walk in them. YaHUaH. So they have it. Commandment 6. I gave you, he said, directions in the first commandment to attend to the amuna and fear and self-restraint. Even so, YaHUaH said, and he said, now I wish to show you the powers of these, that you may know what power each possesses, for their power are double, and have relation alike to righteous and unrighteous. Therefore trust the righteous, but put no trust in unrighteous, for the path of righteous is straight, but that of unrighteousness is crooked. But walk in the straight and even way, and do not mind the crooked, for the crooked path has no roads, but has many pathless places and stumbling blocks in it, and it is rough and thorny. It is injurious to those who walk therein, but they who walk in the straight road walk in evenly without stumbling blocks. It is neither rough nor thorny. You see then that there is better to walk in this road. I wish to go by this road. I said, you will go by it, he said, and whoever turns to YaHUaH with all his heart will walk in it. Here now, he said, in regard to Amunah, there are two messengers with a man, one of righteous and the other of iniquity. And I said to him, how, YaHUaH, am I to know the powers of these, for both messengers dwell with me? Here, he said, and understand them. The message of righteous is gentle and modest, meek and peaceful. Therefore, when he ascends into your heart, immediately he talks to you righteous, purity, chastity, containment, and every righteous deed and esteem fittier. When all these ascend into your heart, know that the messenger of righteousness is with you. These are the deeds of the messengers of righteousness. Trust him then and his works. Look now at the works of the messengers of inquinity. First he is wrathful and bitter and foolish, and his works are evil and ruin the servant of YaHUaH. When then he ascends into your heart, know him by his works. And I said to him, How, YaHUaH, I will perceive him? I do not know. Hear and understand, he said. When anger comes on you, or harshness, know that he is in you, and you will know this to be case also. When you are attacked by a longing after many transactions, and riches, delicacies, and drunken revels, and frivolous luxuries, and things improper, and by hearkening after woman, and overreaching, and pride, and blustering, and whatever is like of these, when these ascend into your heart, know that the messenger of inquinity is in you. Now that you know his works, depart from him, and in no respect trust him, because his deeds are evil and unprofitable to the servant of YaHUaH. These then are the actions of both messengers. Understand them and trust the messengers of righteousness, but depart from the messengers of inquinity, because his instructions is bad in every deed. For thoughts of man the most amuna and of faithfulness, and touches of his messenger ascends into his heart, that the man or woman must sin. On the other hand, be a man or a woman ever so bad, yet if the works of the messenger's righteousness ascend into his or her heart, he or she must do something good. You see, therefore, that it is good is to follow the messengers of righteousness, but to bid farewell to the messenger of inquinity. This commandment exhibit the deeds of faith, or I must say amuna, that you may trust the works of messenger of righteousness, and doing them you may live to YaHUaH. But believe the works of the messengers of inquinity are hard. If you refuse to do them, you will live to YaHUaH. Commandment 7. Fear he said the YaHUaH and keep his commandments, for if you keep the commandments of YaHUaH, you will be powerful in every action, and every one of your actions will be comparable. For fearing YaHUaH, you will do all things well. This is the fear which you ought to have, that you may be saved. But do not fear the devil. For fearing YaHUaH, you will have dominion over the devil. For there is no power in him, but in whom there is no power out of, on no account to be an object of fear. But he is the whom there is esteemed power is truly to be feared. For every one that has power out of to be feared, but he who has no power is despised by all. Therefore fear the deeds of the devil, since they are wicked. For fearing YaHUaH, you will not do these deeds, but will refrain from them. For fears are of two kinds. For if you do the wish to do that which is evil, fear YaHUaH, and you will not do it. But again, if you wish to do that which is good, fear the YaHUaH, and you will do it. Therefore fear YaHUaH is strong and great and esteems. Fear then YaHUaH, and you will live to him. Or YaHUaH. Fear YaHUaH, until you will live to him. And as many as fear him and keep his commandments will live to YaHUaH. Why? I said, YaHUaH, did you say in regret to those that keep his commandments, they will live to YaHUaH? Because he says, all creation fears YaHUaH, but all creation do not keep his commandments. They only who fear YaHUaH and keep his commandments have life with YaHUaH. But as to those who do not keep his commandments, there is no life in them. You see? We go further. Commandments chapter of Commandments 8. I told you, he said, the creatures of YaHUaH are double, for restraint is also double. For in some cases restraint has to be exercised, in others, where there is no need restraint. Make known to me, YaHUaH, I say, in what cases restraint has to be exercised, and in what cases it does not. Restrain yourself in the regret to do evil, and do not do it, but exercise to no restraint in regret to good, but do it. For if you exercise restraint in doing good, you will commit a great sin. But if you exercise restraint so as not to do wish evil, you are practicing great righteousness. Restrain yourself therefore from all iniquity and do that which is good. What YaHUaH, I say, are the evil deeds from which we must restrain ourselves. Here he says, from adultery and fornication, from unlawful revealing, from wicked luxury, from indulgence in many kinds of food, and extravagance of riches, and from boastfulness and haughtiness, and insolence, and lies, and backbiting, and hypocrisy, from remembrance of wrong, and from all slander. These are the deeds that are most wicked in the life of man. From all these deeds, therefore, the servant of YaHUaH must restrain himself, for he who does not restrain himself from these cannot live to YaHUaH. Listen then to the deeds to accompany these. Are there, YaHUaH, I said, any other evil deeds? They are, he says, and many of them too, from which the servant of YaHUaH must restrain himself: theft, lying, robbery, false witnesses, overreaching, wicked lust, deceit, vainglory, boastfulness, and all other vices like these. Do you think that these are really wicked? Exceedingly wicked is in the servant of YaHUaH. From all these the servant of YaHUaH must restrain himself. Restrain yourself then from all these, that you may live to YaHUaH, and you will be enrolled among those who restrain themselves in regret to these matters. These then are the things from which you must restrain yourself. But listen, he says, to the things in regret to which you do not have to exercise self-restraint, but which you ought to do. Do not restrain yourself in regret to do which is good, but do it. And tell me, YaHUaH, I say, to the nature of the good deeds, that I may walk in them and wait on them, so that doing them I can be saved. Listen, he says, to the good deeds which you ought to do, and in regard to which there is no self-restraint required. First of all, there is Amunah, then fear YaHUaH, love, concord, words of righteousness, truth, patience. Then these nothing is better in life of men. If anyone attends to these, and does not restrain himself from them, he is baruched in his life. Then there are the following attendants of these: helping widows, looking after orphans and the needy, rescuing of the servant of YaHUaH from necessity, the being hospitable for hospitality, doing good, finds a feud, never opposing anyone, to being quiet, having fewer needs than all men, reverencing and the ages practicing righteousness, watching the brotherhood, bearing insolence, being long-suffering, encouraging those who are sick in soul, not casting those who have fallen into sin from the Amunah, but turning them back and restoring them to peace of mind, admonishing sinners, not oppressing the debaters and the needy. And if there are any other actions like these, do these seems to you good? He says, for what YaHUaH I say, it is better than these. Walk then in them, he says, and do not restrain yourself from them, and you will live to YaHUaH. Therefore keep this commandment. If you do good, and do not restrain yourself from it, you will live to YaHUaH. All who act thus will live to YaHUaH. And again, if you refuse to do evil and restrain yourself from it, you will live to YaHUaH. And all will live to YaHUaH who keep these commandments and walk in them. Commandments, chapter 9 of Commandments 9. He says to me, put away doubting from you and do not hesitate to ask of the YaHUaH, saying to yourself, how can I ask of the YaHUaH and receiving from him, seeing I have sinned so much against him? Do not thus reason with yourself, but with all your heart turn to YaHUaH and ask him without doubting, and you will know the multitude of his tender mercies, that he will never leave you, but fulfill the request of your soul. For he is not like men who remember evil done against them, but he himself does not remember evils and his compassion on his own creature. Therefore cleanse your heart from all these vanities of this world, and from the words already mentioned, and ask to YaHUaH, and you will receive all, and in none of your requests will you be denied, which you make to YaHUaH without doubting. But if you doubt in your heart, you will receive none of your requests. For those who doubt in regarding YaHUaH are double-souled, and do not obtain one of their requests. But those who are perfect in Amunah ask everything trusting in YaHUaH, and they obtain because they ask nothing doubting and not being double-souled. For every double-souled man, even in the convert, will be saved with difficulty. Cleanse your heart, therefore, from all doubt, and put on Amunah, because it is strong, and trust YaHUaH that you will obtain from him all that I ask you. And if any time after you have asked it of YaHUaH, you are slower in obtaining your request than you expected, do not doubt, because you have not soon obtained the request of your soul. For in reality it is account of some temptation or some sin of which you are ignorant, that you are slower in obtaining your request. Therefore do not cease to make the request of your soul, and you will obtain. But if you grow weary and waver in your request, blame yourself, and not him who does not give it to you. Concerning this doubting state of mind, for it is wicked and senseless, and turns many away entirely from their Amunah, even thought they might be very strong. For this doubting is the daughter of the devil. Wow. Crazy, man. You see? Let me read it again. 9. Concerning this doubting state of mind, for it is wicked and senseless, and turns many away entirely from the Amunah, even thought they might be very strong. For this doubting is the daughter of the devil, and acts exceedingly wickedly to the servant of YaHUaH. Despise then doubting and gain mastery over it in everything, clothing yourself with Amunah, which is strong and powerful. For Amunah promise all things, perfect in all things, but doubt having no toch Amunah in itself, fails in every work which it undertakes. You see, then he says that Amunah is from above, from the YaHUaH, and has great power, but doubt is an earthly ruach coming from the devil, and has no power. Serve then that which is power, namely Amunah, and keep away from doubt, which has no power. And you will live to YaHUaH, and all will live to YaHUaH whose minds have been set on these things. Commandments 10. Remove you from yourself. Again, remove from yourself, he says. Grief, for she is the sister of doubt and anger. How, YaHUaH, I say, is she the sister of these? For anger, doubt, and grief seems to be quite different from each other. You are senseless, O man. Do you not perceive it, that grief is more wicked than all the ruachot and most terrible of the servant of YaHUaH, and more than all other ruachot destroys man and crushes out the Ruach HaKodesh, and yet, on the other hand, she saves him? I am senseless, YaHUaH, I say, and I do not understand these allegories. For how she can crush out, and on the other hand save, I do not perceive. Listen, he says. Those who have never searched for the truth, nor investigated the nature of divinity, but have simply believed when they devote themselves to become mixed up with businesses and wealth and heated friendship and many other actions of this world, do not perceive the allegories of divinity, for their minds are darkened by these actions, and they are corrupted and become dried up, even as beautiful vines, when they are neglected or withered up by the thorns and various plants. So men who had believed it and have afterward falling away into many of those actions above mentioned go astray in their minds and lose all understanding in regard to righteousness. For if they hear of righteousness, their minds are occupied with their businesses and they give no heed at all. Those, on the other hand, who have the fear of YaHUaH and search after the YaHUaH's head and truth, and have their hearts turned on YaHUaH, quickly perceive and understand what it said to them, because they have the fear of YaHUaH in them. For where YaHUaH dwells, there is much understanding. Cleave then to YaHUaH, and you will understand and perceive all things. Hear then, he says, foolish man, how grief crushes out the Ruach HaKodesh, on the other hand saves. When doubting a man attempts any deed and fails in it, on account of his doubts, this grief enters into the man, and grieves to the Ruach HaKodesh, and crushes him out. Then, on the other hand, when anger attaches itself to the man, in regret to anger matter, and he is embittered, the grief enters into the heart of man who was irritated, and he was grieved at the deed which he did, and confess that he has wrought a wicked deed. This grief then appears to be accompanied by deliverance, because the man, after having done a wicked deed, converted both action grief to the YaHUaH doubt, because did not accomplish its object, and anger grieves the YaHUaH because it did what was wicked. Both these are grievous to the Ruach HaKodesh, doubt and anger. Therefore remove grief from yourself, and do not crush the Ruach HaKodesh which dwells in you, lest he entreat YaHUaH against you, and he withdraw from you. For the Ruach of YaHUaH, which has been granted to us to dwell in this body, does not endure grief nor trouble. Therefore put the cheerfulness which is always agreeable and acceptable to YaHUaH, and rejoice in it. For every cheerful man does what is good, and minds what is good, and despise grief. But the sorrowful man always acts wickedly. First he acts wickedly because he grieves to the Ruach Kodesh which was given to man, and cheerful Ruach. Secondly, grieving to the Ruach Kodesh, he works equanimity, neither entreating the YaHUaH, nor confessing to him. For entirety of the sorrowful man has no power to ascend to altar of YaHUaH. Why, I say, does this entirety of the grieved man not ascend to the altar? Because he says grief sits in his heart. Grief then mingled with his entirety does not permit the entity to ascend pure to the altar of YaHUaH. For the vinegar and wine, when mixed in the same vessel, do not give the same pleasure. As wine alone gives, so grief mixes with the Ruach HaKodesh does not produce the same entirety as will be produced by the Ruach HaKodesh alone. Cleanse yourself from this wicked grief, and you will be lifted to YaHUaH, and all will live to YaHUaH, who drive away grief from themselves, and put on all cheerfulness. You see? Commandment 11. He promised out to some man sitting on the seat, and one man sitting on the chair. And he said to me, do you see the person sitting on the seat? I do. YaHUaH, I said. These, he says, are the Amunaful, yeah, I mean faithful, Amunaful, yeah, and he who sits on the chair is false prophet, running the minds of the servant of YaHUaH. It is the doubters, not the faithful, or not Amunaful, that he ruins. These doubters then go to him as to the soothsayer, and inquire of him what will happen to them. And he, that false prophet, not having the power of the divine Ruach in him, answered them according to their inquiries and according to their wicked desire, and fills their souls with expectations, according to their own wishes. For being himself empty, he gives empty answers to empty inquirers. For every answer is made to an emptiness of man. Some true words he does occasionally, other. For the devil fills him with his own Ruach, in the hope that he may be able to overcome some of the righteous. As many then as are strong in the Amunah of YaHUaH and are clothed with truth, have no connection with such as Ruach, but keep away from them. But as many as are doubtful minds and frequently convert, take themselves to the stood, saying, even as the heathen, and bring greater sin on themselves by their adultery. For whom inquires of false prophet in regret to any action is an adulterer, and devoid of the truth and foolish. For no Ruach gives by YaHUaH requires to be asked, but such Ruach having the power of the divine speaks all things of itself, for it proceeds from above, from the power of the divine Ruach. But the Ruach which is asked and speak according to the desire of man is earthly, light and powerless, and altogether silent if it is not questioned. How then, YaHUaH, I say, will man know which of them is prophet, and which the false prophet? I will tell you. He says about both of the prophets, and then you can try the true and the false prophets according to my directions. Try the man who has divine Ruach by his life. First, he who has divine Ruach processed from above is meek and peaceful and humble, and refrains from all iniquity and vain desires of this world, and contents himself with fewer wants than those of the other men. And when they ask, he makes no reply, nor does he speak privately, nor when man wishes the Ruach to speak, does the Ruach HaKodesh speaks, but it speaks only when YaHUaH wishes it to speak. When then a man having the divine Ruach comes into the assembly of the righteous men, who have Amunah in the divine Ruach, and his assembly of men offers up Palal to YaHUaH, then the messages of the prophetic Ruach, who is destined from him, fills the man, and the man being filled with the Ruach HaKodesh speaks to a multitude as the YaHUaH wishes. Thus then will the Ruach of divine divinity become manifest. Whenever power therefore comes from the Ruach of the divinity belongs to YaHUaH. Here then, he says, in regard to the Ruach which is earthly and empty and powerless and foolish, first the man who seems to have the Ruach but does not, excels himself and wishes to have the first seat, and is bold and impotent and talkative and lives in the minds of the man many luxuries and many other delusions, and takes reward for this. Prophecy, and if he does not receive reward, he does not prophesy. Can then the divine Ruach take rewards on prophecy? It is not possible that the prophet of YaHUaH shall do this, but prophets of this character are possessed by the earthly Ruach. Then it is never approached an assembly of righteous men, but such them, and it is associated with doubters, and the vain, and prophecies to them in corner, and deceives them, speaking to them according to their desires mere empty words, for they are empty to whom it gives its answer. For the empty vessel, when the placed along with the empty, it is not crashed, but correspond to each other. Which therefore it comes into assembly of the righteous men who have the Ruach of divinity, and they offer up Palal that man is made empty, and the earthly Ruach flees from him toch ver, and that man is made dumb, and entirely crashed, being unable to speak. For if you closely pack a storehouse with the wine or oil, and put that empty jar in the midst of the vessel of the wine or oil, you will find that jar empty as it when you place in it. If you should wish to clear the storehouse, so also the empty prophets, when they come to the Ruach of the righteous, are found, on leaving to be such as they were when they came. This then is the mode of the life of both prophets. Try by his deeds. You see, you must do your deeds. This is the fruits, the commandments. So if you see if you do his commandments or do not the commandments, you see. So if you do not the commandments, then you are empty, then you are a doubter, because you doubt about it. You see, and we don't doubt about it, like I am. I don't doubt about it. I do everything what he's saying. So yes, it is walk as he walks. So, but as for you, trust the Ruach which is come from YaHUaH and has power, but the Ruach which is earthly and empty do not trust at all, for there is no power in it, comes from the devil. Hear then the allegory which I am to tell you. Take the stone and throw it to the sky and see if it can touch it. Or again, take a squirt of water and squirt into the sky and see if you can penetrate the sky. How, YaHUaH, I say, can these things take place? For both of them are impossible as these things. He says, are impossible, so also are the earthly Ruach powerless and weak. But look, on the other hand, at the power which comes from above. Hail is for the size of very small grain. Yet when it falls on man, heard how much anyone is given him. You see, that was the manna, that was the bread that was falling on the man in the desert from where Moses, you see. And they say, and yeah, that's that part. Or again, take the drop which falls from the pitcher to the ground, and yet it hollows a stone, you see. Then the smallest things coming from above have great power when they fall on the earth. Thus is the divine Ruach which comes from above also powerful. Trust then that Ruach, but have nothing to do with the other. You see, commandment 12. He says to me, put away from yourself all the wicked desire and clothe yourself with the good and the chaste desire. For clothed with this desire you will hate wicked desire and will ruin yourself, and even as you wish. For wicked desire is wild and it's tamed with difficulty. For it is terrible and consumed man exceedingly by the wildness, especially in the servant of YaHUaH, terribly consumed by it. If he falls into it and is devoid of understanding, moreover it consumes all such as do not have on them a garment of good desire, but are entangled and mixed up with this world. These is delivers up to death. What then, YaHUaH, I say, are the deeds of the wicked desire which delivers man over to death? Make them known to me, and I will refrain from them. Listen then to the works in which evil desires slay and servant of YaHUaH foremost of all is the desire after another's wife or husband, and after extra vengeance and many useless delicacies and drinks, and many other foolish luxuries, For all luxury is foolish and empty in the servant of YaHUaH. These then are all evil desires which slay the servant of YaHUaH, for this evil desire is the daughter of the devil. You must refrain from evil desires, that by refraining you may live to YaHUaH. But as many are mastered by them and do not resist them, will perish at last, for these desires are fatal. Put on then the desire of righteousness. You know, Ephesians chapter 6 is this stuff. And arming yourself with the fear of YaHUaH, resist them. For the fear of YaHUaH dwells in good desire. But if evil desire sees you armed with the fear of YaHUaH, and resisting it, it will flee far from you, and will no longer appear to you, for it fears your armor. You see, Ephesians 6. Go then, adorn it with the crown which you have gained for victory over it, to the desire of righteousness and the delivering up it to the prize which you have received it. Serve it even as it wishes. If you serve good desire and are subjected to it, you will gain mastery over evil desire and make it subject to you even as you wish. I should like to know how, I say, in what way I ought to serve good desire. Here, he says, you will practice righteousness and future truth and the fear of YaHUaH, Amunah and meekness and whatever excellencies are like to these. Practicing these, you will be a well-pleasant servant of YaHUaH, and you will live to him. And everyone who will serve good desire will live to YaHUaH. He concluded the 12 commandments and said to me, you now have these commandments, walk in them, and exhort your hearts that their conversion may be pure during the remainder of their life. Carefully fulfill this mystery, which I know entrusted to you, and you will accomplish much, for you will find favor among those who are to convert, and they will give the heed to your words. For I will be with you, and will compel them to obey you. I say to them, YaHUaH, these commandments are great and good and estimable, and fitted to gladden the heart of the man who can perform them. But I do not know if these commandments can be kept by man. Yes, I have seen that stuff. It is hard, but you can still do it if you look to what YaHUsHa did. He given us an example, and as well to many other stuff YaHUaH you see, as you can read here. So, but I do not know if these commandments can be kept by man, because they are exceedingly hard. And he answered and said to me, if you lay it down as a curtain that they can be kept, then you will easily keep them, and they will not be hard. But if you come to imagine that they cannot be kept by man, then you will not keep them. You see? Come on, man. You see? So you must keep that stuff, man. Doing it all day, every day. So, let me read it again. He answered and said to me, if you lay it down as a curtain that they can be kept, then you will easily keep them, and they will not be hard. But if you come into imagine that they cannot be kept by man, then you will not keep them. You see? So, better keep them. So now if I say to you, if you do not keep them, but neglect them, you will not be saved, nor your children, nor your house, since you have already determined for yourself that these commandments cannot be kept by man. He said these things to me in the tones of the deepest anger, so that I was confounded, exceedingly afraid of him. For his figure was altered so that a man could not endure his anger. But seeing me altogether agated and confused, he began to speak to me in more gentle tones, and he said, "O few, senseless, undoubting, do you not perceive how great is Kodesh of YaHUaH, and how strong and marvelous in that he created the world for the sake of man, and subjected to all creation to him, and give him the power to rule over everything under the Shamahin? If then man is YaHUaH of the creatures of YaHUaH, and rules over all, is he not able to YaHUaH also of these commandments? For he says, the man who has the YaHUaH in his heart can also be YaHUaH of all, and of every one of these commandments. But to those who have the YaHUaH only in their lips, but their hearts harden it." Yes, I can see that. It's very sad. I love for y'all people, man. "And who are far from YaHUaH's commandments are hard and difficult." Yes, I can see that. They keep on coming. "No, it is rested in YaHUsHa. No, it is rested in YaHUsHa. We don't have to do it. He done our works already, so we don't have to do that. Yes, we have seen how he have Palal, so we also don't have to Palal. But you must Palal. He's showing us how to do, and he's showing us also how to do his commandments." So yes, they have hardened their heart. "But therefore you are empty and flickered in your Muna." Okay, hold on. So let me read this stuff again. "But those who have the YaHUaH only on their lips, but their hearts hardened, and who are far from YaHUaH commandments are hard and difficult. But therefore you are empty and fleck in your Muna, to YaHUaH in your heart, and you will know that there is nothing easier or sweeter or more matchable than these commandments. Return, you who walk in the commandments of the devil, in heart and bitter and wild licentiousness, and do not fear the devil, for there is no power in him against you. For I will be with you, the messengers of the conversation, who am YaHUaH over him. The devil has fear only, but his fear has no strength. Do not fear him, then, and he will flee from you. I say to him, YaHUaH, listen to me for a moment. Say what you wish," he says. Man, YaHUaH, I say, is eager to keep the commandments of YaHUaH, and there is no one who does not ask to YaHUaH that strength may be given him for these commandments, and that they may subject to them. But the devil is hard and holds sway over them. Yes, that is why I love for y'all people, man. He cannot, he says, hold a sway over the servant of YaHUaH, who with all their hearts place their hopes in him. The devil can wrestle against these, but he cannot overthrow them. If then you resist him, he will conquer and flee disgrace from you. As many, therefore, he says, as are empty, fear the devil, as possessing the power. When a man has filled very suitable suitable jars with good wine, and a few among those jars are left empty, then he comes to the jars, and does not look at the full jars, for knows that they are full. But he looks at the empty, being afraid lest they have become sour. For empty jars quickly become sour, and goodness of this wine is gone. So also the devil goes to all the servants of YaHUaH to try them. As many then are full in the Amunah resist him strongly, and withdraws from them, having no way by which he might enter them. He goes them to the empty, and finding a way of entrance into them, he produces in them whatever he wishes, and they become his servants. But I, the messenger of conversation, say to you, do not fear the devil, for I was sent, he says, to be with you, who converts with all your heart and makes you strong in Amunah. Trust YaHUaH, then you, who on account of your sins have the spirit of life, and who at your sins and weigh down your life. For if you return to YaHUaH with all your heart, and practice righteousness the rest of your days, and serve him according to his will, he will heal your former sins, and you will have power to hold sway over the works of the devil. But as to treats of the devil, do not fear them at all, for he is powerless as the sinuous of the dead man. Give ear to me, then, and fear him who has all power both to save and destroy, and keep his commandments, and you will live to YaHUaH. I say to him, YaHUaH, I am now made strong in all the ordinance of YaHUaH, because you are with me. And I know that you will crush all the power of the devil, and we will have rule over him, and will prevail against all his works. And I hope, YaHUaH, to able to keep all these commandments which you have enjoined on me, to YaHUaH strengthened me. You will keep them, he says, if your heart is pure towards YaHUaH, and all will keep them who cleanse their hearts from the vain desire of this world, and they will live to YaHUaH. YaHUaH. I hope it is now more clear, as you can see. So we must keep his commandments, walk in it all day, every day. So that just means keep his feast days, keep his laws, everything, because YaHUaH said from keep my rest day, keep this, keep that, keep that, keep that, do this, do this, do that. You see? So this commandment is given to us to be purified, to cleanse away our the desires from the earth and everything. Like I earlier said in many videos, I said that this feast is made for us so that we can rejoice in him, remember him, and because we love him, so and as well we can put ourselves on the stake, so we don't do our own desire anymore, his desire. That is why the feast is made for us, you know. And as well, when we go to the Shamahim, we do the same thing, and that's why he says that this is the shadow things of to come. You see, so that we do practice this in the shadow, what we do now in the world, because the world is full of shadow stuff, darkness, and he is the light. You see, so yeah, there you have it. So everybody, I hope now that is clear, man. Much love. This is YaHUsHa Minor Production. Supply YaHUaH's word in your life. Deny yourself daily. Pick up his take. I follow YaHUsHa music all day, every day. YaHUaH is YaHUsHa in the flesh.